how do swords sound, how do spells sound, how do players, characters sound when they're getting hit or, causing damage or whatever. There's so much to talk about within what I've just described. But how do you do that for a world that doesn't exist yet? How do you start working on the I guess the texture of the sound?
Thankfully, I have a lot to lean on here with lore. Greg and Shanti have done a ton of lore background. So that was what lured me here. I mean, well, there's lots of things that lured me here, but that was one of the things that really lured me here when I first started talking to people in the interview process and kind of setting up, thinking about coming here. They have a backstory for everything. So the idea that, okay, so we all know the world was once all one and it broke apart. We have shards everywhere, and even just the fact that I can draw from maybe this shard or this area, this region, or this faction or whatever has this bit of history that connects it back in the day to this, and so that's where the sounds will come from. That's where the music will come from. We've talked a bunch about the instruments that are in the world, and so there'll be in Haven, there'll be lots of all the different places, all the different little sections of that area will have all the different kind of musical influences. But the fact that I always have history to go back and lean on to find out this is why this faction has, their sounds are a little more, maybe say hypothetically, they're a little more about fire or metal or things like that, or they're more about this kind of magic or that kind of magic, that I have that to go back and justify why a sound is going to be like this, or if a region is going to be like this. And then you build from there. Then you say, okay, if it is, so I can, sorry, now I'm just going to ramble for a while.
No, I love this process, so do not feel bad. I love it.
So it makes me think about, things like Guild Wars, for example. Like we had, we had clear areas that were like, this race came from this region, and they were all very metal and industrial, and the char was very like metal and heavy, and so I could lean on, so all their sounds were like based on physical metal and rock and like fire and like heavy things, versus the Asura were like all light and magic and these other things. So I could always go back to the history of it, and thankfully there is so much documentation here for all of this that I can just always go back and